Welcome to another Wednesday edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm Theodore Henry. So much is happening around the world and losses seem almost certain for some, especially with the haunting effects of the pandemic. But there are individuals standing at the helm, helping to maintain some sort of collective good health and well-being. And you too have a responsibility to take care of your health. Today we provide general information for a healthier you, which could very well start with you getting the vaccine.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Wednesday, September 22. Government is in support of the recent findings of the Auditor General's report on Nutrition Products Limited, NPL, which found several breaches. In the Auditor General's performance report, which covers the period 2015 to 2021, it was revealed that NPL's recruitment and selection process was not always in line with its employment and recruitment policy and circulars issued by the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service. Among them, the hiring of a human resources manager who had only 6 GCE subjects when the post required a Bachelor of Science degree in social sciences with at least 6 years of work-related experience. At this morning's post-cabinet press briefing, Minister of Education, Youth and Information, Favour Williams, whose ministry has responsibility for NPL, pledged the ministry's full support of any further investigation into the matter should it become necessary.
Let me say, without a shadow of a doubt, that the findings demonstrate serious breaches of the government's Public Bodies Management and Accountability Act, and that, on reading the report, it may require further investigations by other constituted authorities empowered to take legal actions based on their findings.
Minister Williams, meanwhile, says government has already started the NPL reform process, including the installation of a new board and the granting of the approval for the privatization of the entity. The House of Representatives has begun the debate on the updated National Identification and Registration Act, NIRA. Justice Minister Delroy Chuck, who opened the debate, says the new bill will strengthen the National Identification and Registration System, NIDS, and increase the protection of the right to privacy of enrolled individuals. It's also expected to improve the oversight authority of the Registrar General's Department, which will be named Office of the Registrar General.
This bill is a living representation of the views of the Jamaican people. It embodies the recommendations of a joint select committee on the previous iteration of this legislation. These recommendations were made as a result of an intensive round of contributions from concerned citizens of Jamaica, members of the diaspora, and various stakeholder interest groups. Madam Speaker, this bill is one of the most responsive pieces of legislation ever put to this Honourable House.
The Justice Minister also says the updated NIDS bill is the first legislation that will require the encryption of personal information in compliance with the best international practices for information security. The National Identification and Registration Act was tabled on July 21 and will seek to establish the National Identification System, NIDS, where Jamaicans can choose to have a secure national identification card. Jamaica has called for the global acceptance of COVID-19 vaccines being administered in developing countries. The call comes amidst reports that certain countries do not recognize the fully vaccinated status of persons from developing countries like Jamaica. Currently, the island's most widely administered COVID-19 vaccine is the Oxford AstraZeneca, which has been secured through the COVAX facility and by donations from countries such as the United Kingdom.
Jamaica would ask that the WHO and PAHO intervene to ensure that essential medicines and health technologies that have gone through the rigors of approval are recognized and accepted globally. This we ask as vaccines approved by the WHO, taken by our citizens, are not being accepted in some countries.
Chief Medical Officer Dr. Jacqueline Besesa McKenzie made the appeal Tuesday during Day 2 of the 59th Pan American Health Organization's Directing Council meeting in the United States capital of Washington, D.C. The Directing Council brings together health authorities to determine priorities, set policies, and coordinate technical cooperation among countries pertaining to health in the Americas. Meanwhile, Minister of Health and Wellness Dr. Christopher Tufton is urging the international community to address the inequities which exist in accessing tools to tackle the COVID-19 pandemic. Dr. Tufton says there is a wide disparity as it relates to the access developing countries have to COVID-19 vaccines, as well as other health technologies such as medical-grade oxygen. The health minister made the call as he chaired the opening session of the 59th PAHO Directing Council meeting Monday.
Vaccines have become a critical tool for recovery. Yet, a disproportionate amount of the over 5 billion doses administered globally has gone to high-income countries. While some countries in our region have vaccinated over 50% of their population, others remain below 3%. More than a third of countries in Latin America and the Caribbean are yet to vaccinate 20% of their populations.
The World Health Organization's data up to September 17 showed there were more than 226 million confirmed cases of COVID-19 and over 4.5 million deaths globally. The region of the Americas had the highest numbers, with over 87 million reported cases of COVID-19 and more than 2 million deaths.
Although inequality has always been a defining feature of the global economic order, COVID-19 has sharpened inequalities, raising critical questions as we move towards COVID-19 recovery. Questions about the role of multilateralism in addressing shared public health challenges.
Minister Tufton encouraged countries to commit to building a more robust healthcare system with greater emphasis on primary health care, health financing, and increasing capacity for emergency response to disasters. In other news, the Ministry of National Security says it is treating the engagement of youth in crime and violence as a matter of national urgency. Portfolio Minister Dr. Horace Chang was emphasizing the stance of the government while speaking at the United Nations Development Programme's UNDP Youth Summit on Crime and Violence yesterday. The summit was staged in observation of World Peace Day.
All of government priority are taking necessary steps to ensure the social development initiatives are relevant to the targeted population, impactful on crime.
According to Dr. Chang, on average, 40% of all known murder offenders in Jamaica are young men aged 15 to 24 years. Over the past decade, victims and perpetrators of Category 1 crimes also fall within this age group. Meanwhile, in 2020, 16% of murder victims were between the ages of 15 and 24. The National Security Minister disclosed that young people in this age range are taking up leadership roles within violent gangs and are being groomed by dons and other violence producers to commit gun and other violent crimes.
Governments must ensure that the public services to the areas which are dominated by criminal activity are improved and can provide the opportunity and the environment in which young people, young adults, male and female, in particular, the number of young men are growing up in a better environment and can achieve their ambitions and dreams.
And finally, the National Health Fund, NHF, has launched an online application system which allows doctors to register their patients for NHF cards. The move is in a bid to increase accessibility and convenience to NHF beneficiaries. To apply, doctors may go on the NHF online application portal, select and certify the conditions for their patients, add the patient's Tax Administration Registration Number, TRN, and submit the information to NHF. Once received, patients are contacted for any additional details, the applications are processed, and they are advised to come in to collect their NHF cards. For more information on the applications process for their patients, doctors can email the NHF at customercare@nhf.org.jm or call 876-906-1106. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
Behind every Jamaican medical cannabis product is a story. To create that perfect plant requires the care, patience, and nurturing of that special farmer. When harvested, it is carefully transported to a processing facility where it is transformed into high-quality medical cannabis products for consumption by responsible consumers. All this and more is possible through the closed-loop system created by the Cannabis Licensing Authority to protect the integrity of Jamaica's medical cannabis industry. For more information, call the Cannabis Licensing Authority at 876-654-7582 or visit our website at cla.org.jm.
The realities of the COVID-19 pandemic cannot be denied, but the world continues to spin with other illnesses and diseases moving along its axis. It simply means that our health should always be a priority. Here's one form of cancer which, though uncommon, brings a triggering impact and signs that you should look out for.
According to the World Health Organization's World Health Ranking, someone in Jamaica is more likely to lose their life from prostate cancer, lung cancer, breast cancer, stomach, cervical, liver, uterine, and even ovary cancer before they'll ever go from bladder cancer. Now, the rarity of this illness drafted local statistics at 0.34% of the total number of deaths in the island in 2018. That's only 62 people. But of course, that's 62 people too many, and maybe, just possibly, 62,000 people not having ever heard of this disease until now.
So the bladder is a small muscular organ that is in the pelvis, deep down in the pelvis. Its purpose is really to store urine. Now, cancer, as has been said before, it refers to the unregulated abnormal growth of cells, and in this case it would be the bladder. So bladder cancer is unregulated growth, usually from the lining of the bladder, that is abnormal cell growth. So the signs and symptoms of bladder cancer, usually the commonest sign is usually hematuria. Now what hematuria is blood in the urine. So usually it's painless hematuria, maybe painful hematuria, which is pain along with blood in the urine. Also, there may be irritative bladder symptoms, or as we would say, storage, lower urinary tract symptoms. Some of these include urgency, frequency, going to the bathroom frequently, waking up often at nights, it's known as nocturia, and in general, some dysuria, which is like burning when you pass your urine.
Now, before you experience any of those symptoms, there are some causative factors that lead to bladder cancer that you may want to assess first. It simply means that while it happens, it's usually preventable.
The commonest causative factor for bladder cancer is cigarette smoking. It's actually associated with about 50 to 60% of bladder cancers. There are other risk factors which are known as occupational hazards. So individuals who work in the industries and have prolonged exposure to aromatic amines, aromatic hydrocarbons. So in the textile industry, painters, those who work with tar, amongst other occupational hazards, are at risk for bladder cancer. Patients who also have, for whatever reason, they'll have chronic irritation to the bladder. So there's a parasitic infestation known as schistosomiasis that's really associated with bladder cancer also. Patients who have chronic catheters, indwelling catheters, as well as bladder stones and a few other things that cause chronic irritation to the bladder.
Now, bladder cancer is very picky when it comes down to gender, with the likelihood of displaying its sprouting behavior on men more often than women. And while the data shows that you don't necessarily need to be thinking about this until you're well over your 40s, there is proof that it affects many of us who are nowhere near to collecting our pension. Wow.
The older you become is the more at risk you are. Usually not before the age of 40 that bladder cancer is seen. It's more common in the 5th to 6th decades of life. 5th, 6th, 7th decades of life. It's actually more common in men than women, and this is thought to be associated with lifestyle amongst other things. Bladder cancer is very treatable. In fact, most bladder cancers present as organ-confined disease, meaning that they're absolutely curable. The treatment options include definitely surgery. This involves what is known as a transurethral resection of the bladder to actually get diagnosis, and in some cases is curative if the tumor is completely gotten. This involves passing instruments through the urethra, which is the opening through which you pass urine from the bladder. And that allows us to see the tumor. It allows us to resect or scrape the tumor away from the bladder wall. And in some cases, we may or may not give intravesical immunotherapy or chemotherapy, depending on the risk of the disease. But that's usually how bladder cancer is initially treated.
So now may be a good time to just pause for a bit and think about the causes, signs, and symptoms of bladder cancer. And if you've been treated from it before, remember to get your regular checkups, because bladder cancer has a high recurrence rate. Watching from the sidelines or the confines of a bed can be a bit of a sting for some, piercing for others. So let's go stronger and healthier together by prioritizing our health.
Taking care of your mouth also forms part of the package of overall good health. We want to help you prevent things like gingivitis, dental cavities, and other mouth diseases. That's exactly why we brought a dental expert in to assist with the details.
Dental health is really important because the mouth is the entry point of nutrition in our bodies. And if it is not functioning properly, then we run the risk of not getting the correct nutrition. Actually, we refer more so to oral health these days than dental health. If we have bad teeth that impair our ability to chew properly, then we will tend to keep away from certain food groups that could be challenging to chew. People with bad oral hygiene, people who use and eat, drink a lot of sweets, you can have decay, and you can also have, along with it, periodontal gum disease. You know, the big one that jump out at me is periodontal disease, gum disease. That is when the gum begin to be bleedy, sore, puffy, and just generally uncomfortable. It carries some social consequences, bad breath, and you tend to lose self-confidence. It's so important to have a consultation with your dental personnel, whether the dental surgeon or the hygienist, who will be able to diagnose the needed treatment for such a condition. All sugars are bad, but everything is in moderation. The Jamaica Dental Association endorsed the efforts of the government in reducing the levels of sugar in the bottled beverages. The aim is to get it to 2.5 milligrams in 100 mils by the year 2023. It would be roughly 2.5 teaspoonful. The current level that the government has aimed for, and it was introduced the end of January, is 5 milligrams per 100 mils. So that is coming from 6.5, so it's a gradual reduction. And the taste will be not so significantly different. As a dentist, I recommend the soft, but I'm aware that a lot of patients tend towards the harder ones. It does some damage by cutting a little line at the neck of the teeth, just where the teeth meet the gum line. So we recommend the soft toothbrush. It's really important to begin by putting the brush on the gum. A lot of people avoid the gum because they tend to think that it makes the gum bleedy. It's the exact opposite. It is as a result of not brushing the gum why there is some amount of bleediness. And you should brush in the direction of growth. The top ones, you brush them down in a circular motion, and the bottom ones, you brush them up, covering all surfaces. Don't forget your tongue and, as I said before, the gum itself. Flossing is very, very important. If you try to imagine that the toothbrush does not get between the teeth, the only thing that can remove the material that will accumulate between the teeth would be the dental floss. The technique is also important. Hold it short, get it past that little tight area, and gently bring it down into the gum, that little crevice of the gum, and remove it. Remove material that might have accumulated there. And we recommend 6 monthly checkup. If you tend to be prone to decays, we would really like to see you every 6 months. If you have been checked and you are pretty much okay, a yearly visit would be adequate. Extraction really is the last resort. With regular examination, we can pick up using x-rays and visual examination early decays, and these can be effectively dealt with by regular fillings. If it has gone too far and it is now in the nerve, there are other procedures called root canals that can be done, and sometimes we need to cover the entire tooth with a crown to bring it back to usefulness. If your teeth are malaligned, just not aesthetically pleasing, or are causing some kind of effect on your body, then they should be straightened. Orthodontic treatment or braces simply mean moving the teeth through bone to put them in a more harmoniously pleasing position. It's important because you are moving teeth through bone, and the harmony between the joint, the soft tissues, and the teeth must be respected. Not respecting it can result in pain in the joint, headaches, and just a general sense of discomfort in your mouth. It's important to visit your dentist regularly and without fear, because with new technology, and we now have many new dentists in our system, where it's not difficult to get an appointment to see a dentist on a regular basis. There's always a needle, but outside of that, there's absolutely no pain.
What you eat is another important ingredient for achieving good health. In this next feature, we show you how to start achieving a healthy body by simply taking note of what goes inside.
Eating healthy by having a balanced diet consisting of items from all the food groups and consuming the right portions is important to get the nutrients vital for disease prevention, growth, and good health. Essential nutrients are building blocks for the cells that make up the body, from bone to muscle, skin, and hair. One of the most critical ones is protein, which is made up of different amino acids, some of which the body can make on its own. We need a variety of proteins to function properly, many of which can only come from the foods we eat. Meats, fish, and eggs are essential sources from animals, while plant sources include beans, nuts, and some grains. How much protein you need daily depends on a variety of factors, including how active you are and your age. Carbohydrates are the main nutrients for fueling the body's energy needs, especially our central nervous system and brain. They help protect against diseases, but some carbohydrates are healthier than others. Some healthy sources include your fresh produce, such as yam, banana, breadfruit, and tubers, as well as whole grains, fiber-rich vegetables, and fruits. Less healthy sources include refined grains and products with added sugar. Fats often get a bad rap, but it's important to know that healthy fats are essential to our body's function. Fats aid in vitamin and mineral absorption, blood clotting, building cells, and muscle movement. Fats are high in calories, which is a measure of energy from foods, but the World Health Organization recommends keeping daily calorie intake from fat at under 30%. Including healthy fats, which are the unsaturated fats in your diet, can help balance blood sugar, decrease the risk of heart disease and type 2 diabetes, and improve brain function. Healthy fats are also powerful anti-inflammatories and can lower the risk for arthritis, cancer, and Alzheimer's disease. Some of the well-known unsaturated fats are the omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. Sources of these healthy fats include fish, seeds, nuts, and vegetable oils, olive, avocado, and flax seeds. Trans fats are to be avoided, and we should also limit our intake of saturated fats, of which the main sources are animal-based and include butter, cheese, red meat, and ice cream. Vitamins are organic compounds essential for normal growth and are required in small quantities. There are 13 essential vitamins that the body needs, and these help lower the risk of diseases such as lung and prostate cancer. Vitamin A supports healthy vision, skin, and bones. Powerful antioxidants like vitamin C boost the immune system and helps the body heal. Eating a varied and well-balanced diet of fruits and vegetables should supply the body with the required vitamins. Minerals are also important nutrients needed for building strong bones and teeth. They help with regulating our body's metabolism and keeping us properly hydrated. The mineral calcium strengthens bones and teeth and helps with nerve signal transmission. It also helps to maintain healthy blood pressure and with muscle contraction and relaxation. Iron supports red blood cells and hormone creation, while the mineral zinc boosts the immune system and wound healing. The body also needs water, which improves brain function and mood, and acts as a shock absorber and lubricant in the body. Water also flushes our toxins, carries nutrients to cells, hydrates the body, and prevents constipation. Even mild dehydration can make us feel tired and impair concentration and physical performance. In addition to drinking water, we can hydrate ourselves by eating fruits and vegetables such as spinach and watermelon. Start treating your body right. As you grab your next meal, make sure you're getting all the nutrients needed in their right proportion.
We put the final pause here for today's show with the promise of more Jamaica Magazine tomorrow. We're happy that you stayed for the journey, but if you missed any detail, then a refresher of this, yesterday's, and other editions can be had through the JIS YouTube channel. Also, visit the JIS's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages for more information. From all of us here at the JIS, I'm Theodore Henry. See you soon.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.